Many blessings. This is VerDarLuz from Divine Timing Coaching, and I want to welcome you to the new moon in Gemini. It is an absolutely packed astrological week and month. There's so many planets in Gemini. Things are moving very fast and accelerated. So I wanted to share this with you, especially in light of two core concepts this month, which are really Venusian in a way, and Venus with Saturn. This is a big theme. And it has to do both with relationships and with business and money, specifically finances, and how we earn our resources. This is a month where we're really working with values and value reorientation. It's a month where we're really looking at getting committed to a rebirth of our values as the Sun and Venus come together in a square to Saturn for the new moon. So I want to break this down for you. Again, I'm VerDarLuz from Divine Timing Coaching. I have a specialty in locational astrology as well as human design and using astrology and human design for business support. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit today and the idea of structuring our work if we're a coach or an entrepreneur, creating premium packages or signature programs where we're getting more return on our investment of time and energy and money, and how we work with clients. So this has been a big change in my own life, over the last 10 years as I changed my own business model. And I think that a lot of us are working with this theme right now, but it's also an energy that we can apply in relationships. So let's look at the chart. We'll look at the chart for the new moon and some of the themes for the whole month of June. And so let me share the screen with you, and we're going to take it into June 6th. This is the new moon happening. So this will be Thursday, pretty much, yeah, around the world. We're going to see that you could see that we just had this huge stellium of planets. That's five more or planets in Gemini, sorry. And here you will see that we've just had that big move of Jupiter into Gemini. And this is obviously going to expand and inspire and amplify and give opportunities to all of those who have Gemini placements in their chart, sun, moon, rising, all of those planets. It's also great for air signs. And especially right now, given all the air energy of Gemini, if you are Libra or Aquarius, there's a lot of, trine energy here, flowing, supportive, elemental energy that can really expand and enhance whatever you're working on. It's especially an important month for networking and for learning how to market our message. Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, is the marketer. If you hear the word marketing, you hear Mercury in there. So there's both of those going on, right? And the key here though is as the month begins, and if we go just back a couple days, let's get the days up here. You see that the whole week of June 4th is significant because here is the Mercury Jupiter also conjunction, and that's bringing the left and right brains together, but it's really helping us to create a story, language, vocabulary, verse around what can be inspiring, opportunistic, expansive, growth oriented. It will help us also tune into the teacher part of ourselves and to find and be attracted to teachers, mentors that can help support us in our Gemini work. And this is because Mercury and Jupiter are coming together. Mercury rules the left brain, Jupiter rules the right, but he's in Mercury's sign. And so this conjunction right now with a trine to Pluto is really, really significant because whatever message we're sharing with the world, and anything actually that we absorb or tune into right now can feel like it's more impactful, Pluto, more influential in our lives, Pluto. And that's why this week specifically, a message that we bring out can really have a longer term ripple consequence. And that's why it's so important to think about the kind of communication we're bringing into our relationships and into the learning that we're doing and into the work, the service, and the professional life that we're offering. And it's especially poignant because of what's happening with Venus in this new moon. So let's look at this new moon specifically here. And I want you to see Mercury. Okay, Mercury is at home in Gemini, and he's only going to be here for a couple weeks. It's a very fast movement of Mercury in the sign. And what's so significant is that that means he's moving over Jupiter, and then he's going to cross over the Sun and Venus. And we're going to see that there's quite a significant collaboration, let's say, between Mercury and the Sun and Venus for a lot of this month. And so we have the mercurial mind, the language, the style of communication connected to Venus, which rules money and our values, a sense of beauty, what we find attractive, our aesthetics, and of course our relationships. That's romantic partners, that's social life. And so I'm wearing this, new shirt, and I got some new clothing here. It's kind of a cosmic, journey, and it feels like it represents me a lot. And uh, as a performer and as a teacher, especially of astrology, it's like, oh, okay, that expresses me. And I'm pointing that out because during a new moon conjunct Venus, we might get really sensitive to how we're appearing. And so, how can a sense of fashion communicate more about what's emerging in our identity? Think of the sun and the new moon. There's an identity now, and the identity is around the messenger, the marketer, the communicator, the idea sharer and spreader, which is Gemini, right? But it has a Venusian quality. So it's bringing more beauty to how we communicate, or bringing beauty into the process of the language that we use. Now, this is really important when we think about this in terms of personal relationships. And what's so significant is that on June 4th, so this is Tuesday, there's the Sun Venus Cazimi. And that's when the Sun and Venus are, infused together in the same degree. And it's a rebirth of Venus every year when that happens. Um, it's like a supercharging, a fueling from the sun of this illumination of Venusian themes. And so this is an ideal entire week to be really working on our relationships and our values, our sense of beauty and our arts, and earning more resources and how we earn them. But it's so much about the kinds of language that we use, the kinds of information that we're learning and sharing and communicating with, the ideas that we're blending together and synthesizing and sharing with the world. This is very Gemini. So networking is a really important thing to do this whole month and around this full new moon. Um, and it's also important that when we are looking at this moon, that we notice this position of Saturn, because you'll see that on the day of the new moon, which is Thursday, you have the next aspect of the moon is it's exact with Venus. So Sun, Venus, and Mercury are all at the same degree, 16 degrees. So this is a sensitive degree for you. If you have planets around this, this is going to be a very strong surge of energy for you around that planet um, because of this new moon. If you have planets at 16 Sag or Virgo or Pisces, anywhere within 5 degrees of that, you're going to feel this really strong emerging energy and a sense of a new birth and a growth that can be again blessed by the goddess Venus, and so she can bring more abundance in our life, more relationships. And this is what's really important with this moon, is that we're talking about Gemini. Gemini is a sign of curiosity and diversity, also adaptability. It's a mutable sign. It's a wind air element. So we're looking at, it's important right now to diversify our relationships. And that's so we can learn. And so one of the things that might happen as this occurs, especially as we go towards the weekend, is you'll see that the Sun, Venus, are then by the 8th pretty much in an exact square to Saturn. So we're building towards that with this moon. So you'll feel it as the week increases. And what's so significant about that is Saturn is the planet of seriousness, of maturity. And I think that what we're on right now is the journey to maturity. Um, this is about getting real, having the difficult conversations often in relationships, in our finances, Venus, and also like what we're creating and why we're creating it and what our sense of, art and beauty is all about and what would be sustainable. Sustainable is a very Saturn word. Where you see the S and T in words are actually connected a lot with Saturn. Think about the word stop. Saturn puts pause onto things. Think about structure. This is what Saturn's all about, building out structures in our life that will sustain. There's also systems. And so if we think about how to apply a system into a relationship or structure into a relationship, this brings up the really powerful theme of commitment. And I think that this is a moon that asks all of us what we're committed to in terms of our art, in terms of how we attract in resources, finances, and our values in relationship. So I've been blessed in my life to support a few couples in as a minister in doing commitment ceremonies to weddings, some hand fasting rituals. And hand fasting, I really believe in my heart, is a model that a lot of us can really align with these days, because hand fasting as a ancient pagan or Celtic practice, it's still practiced today in a lot of the pagan world. I've done a couple of my own hand fasting ceremonies with partners. The beauty of hand fasting is that there is, just like in marriage, there are vows, but it's for a limited time. Now, traditionally, it was for a year and a day. And what's so beautiful about the hand fasting model was you would do that in front of a community. Often it was at the Luftnassad or the midsummer festivals around the beginning of August. You would come into a festival, and sometimes you would meet somebody at the festival and have this beautiful experience. Maybe if you've been to Burning Man, you've had something like this. I know I did, but it could be at any festival. And then you say, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go on this journey this next year. What do we want to commit to? What do we want to create? And and so in the pagan world, they would do this, and they would create this ceremony, and they would literally fasten the hands together. And this is where we get the term tying the knot. And so over the course of this year, then we're learning how we are in relationship with this person, and we're creating together, and we're also checking in on what we have been creating. How is it working? If you're building out a structure or a system in a relationship, you have to keep checking in, just like you would with a business. And again, this gets to our theme, because the sun is squaring Saturn, Venus is squaring Saturn, and we need to implement systems into how we are going to grow over the long term and through time with the planet Saturn. And so this is where it's very important to have check-ins in our relationships. So if we're going to do a hand fasting ritual, it doesn't have to be for a year and a day. It could be for 3 months, 6 months. Excuse me. It could be for a certain project and that time length that's going to take. The idea is to have this, this temporal structure of time, right? And then to come out of that, and then to look in a very objective way and acknowledge and recognize and honor what we have accomplished, what we've achieved, how we've grown, the goals that we set and then we moved towards, and maybe where we didn't meet those goals, and then to have an honest assessment of where we're going next. And in the hand fasting tradition, if we decided that we did not want to continue that journey, that our paths were going in separate ways, then we would hand part, and we would literally cut the cords that we hand fasted with when we tied the knot. And that's where we get the term cutting cords from. And we've lost a lot of that ritual, and the honoring of each other, the dignity that comes from entering into a ritual commitment with someone, and a ritual parting. And so when we are looking again at hand fasting, we might even feel like, if we've done it a year and a day, we want to do it for the rest of our lives, and that was part of the tradition. Or we may be looking at, okay, what's the next year and a day going to look like? Or the next 3 months or 6 months, right? My sense is that because of the speed of change right now, it's very important for us to have regular check-ins. So even if we do commit for 3 or 6 months or a year, maybe every month we have a day. And now I work a lot with the composite chart with couples and my own relationship, because the composite chart shows you where you have a sort of time map for your relationship and for your individual lives. It also can show you that in a business. And if you've launched a business, you have a professional, if you corporatize something or you began a business, it will have a birth chart and it will have its own timing, right? And it's so powerful to align the timing of your business to your own personal cycles, right? And what's so essential in a relationship is I have my cycles, you have your cycles, and then we have our own, right? And I'm mentioning again all of this because Saturn, Lord of Time, brings us sensitivity this month to the cycles that we're working with. And that it's really important to work within these systems and structures of time and reverse engineer our goals. So in relationship, getting real with, you know, what our commitments look like, what it does feel like to be met, to be heard, to be honored. Uh, what I love to share with clients is, my version of the god and goddess, Venus and Mars, my emotional needs with the moon, my communication style with Mercury. It's really, really important this month to really understand those about each other. And I found nothing more accurate than astrology, except maybe human design. They really balance each other out well to describe our relationship patterns, intentions, and especially around communication, masculine and feminine energies that we all have, um, and our, emotional needs. And so when we can get sort of, sober about what those are, bring them out on the table, and then we can create goals around having those archetypes, met and dance with each other in relationship. Now we're working with the real language, again, a language of the soul. And that's what we're talking about here. When we're combining Gemini and Pisces, where Saturn and then of course, Venus and the sun and all these other planets are right now, we're looking at Saturn and Pisces is wanting us to really get into the archetypal patterning that is within us. And then bring that sacred mythos in our soul into a language that we can work with in a very practical way, because Gemini is about bringing practical knowledge and language into the world. And so the exciting thing about this is that if we could stay curious, youthful, childlike, which is a very Gemini quality, instead of getting, too heavy. Saturn can be heavy, but I think that this can be a great combination for us to both, be playful and to rebirth the goddess, who, if you look back at 8 years ago, this is where she was before. She was in a Cazimi with the sun and getting supercharged by this Gemini energy. And so something similar is happening to what was going on in the summer of 2016. But this time we have this Saturn component. So composite charts, synastry, how we are connected with each other. This helps us get real in our relationship about our patterns, how we interact, how we interface, what areas of our life we are influencing and impacting in each other. This is called chart transposition. We transpose one person's chart onto another. This is going to help us if we are intending to do a kind of a deeper commitment with each other and create projects and look at creating a system between each other. It's going to give us the language and the tools for that. So if that's something of interest for you, I would love to talk to you and your partner about your relationship journey. I'd also love to host you for a hand fasting ceremony and create a ritual around that and let the composite charts be a guide for that. Now, I think that we might also want to be bringing in some other tools at this time. Nonviolent communication is a really, really powerful tool. And when we're talking about so much air right now, we need to know how to communicate in a way that is really about fully listening, fully receiving, fully giving our truth, not interrupting each other. Gemini is a very interruptive sign. And so we have to learn how to really listen. Nonviolent communication is really about that. Um, A Course in Miracles teaches a lot about relationships. It's one of my favorite teachings. And the concept of the holy relationship and being in service of the divine moving through us and letting go of all the guilt stories and the baggage from the past and really coming into presence together. What wants to be created through us at this time. And again, this is where the charts come in really powerfully because we can see our creationship, our formula for our soul contract together. And we could see patterns in that overall as a kind of overarching theme, but we can also see it as it is now, right? What was our relationship a year ago like? What was it now? What is it going to be like in a year in terms of certain cycles? And so that helps us get present to the creational energy moving through us now. Um, so there's also Ho'oponopono, the forgiveness practice of the Hawaiian tradition, where we acknowledge that we might have hurt somebody unintentionally. And we say, I love you and I ask your forgiveness and I forgive you. And I'm sorry for any pains that may have been caused. And this is such a powerful healing practice. And if we come from these places right now, we can really, really deepen our bonds because the beauty with Saturn Venus, is that Saturn will do the work, right? He'll ask us to do the work in our relationships. Now, this could also bring us to professional relationships and that we want to create solid, sustainable partnerships right now. And so referral partners, joint venture partners, we call them sometimes, um, where we can, let's say we're thinking out a year, like I'd like to work with these people, if we can start to be a part of joint venture communities. I'm in a number of directories right now. My business has grown this year because of that. And this transit is really suggesting that we market and network and affiliate ourselves with people who have their networks into communities that we would like to serve, right? Their tribes are our tribe. And the same thing, we can open up our world to them. And we can grow our list and influence people in a way that we couldn't if we didn't have those partners. And so when we look at Sun squaring Saturn, we all kind of come to a sense of a kind of reality check of what foundations are being laid in our life for our success, our influence in the world, our professional lives, our um, how we're contributing to the world. Saturn is very much real world, right? And sometimes we can feel like we're not there yet, and we have to grow through some growing pains. What is so significant about this cycle, Mercury's going to come into square Saturn too, and that's going to happen here right around, 11th, 12th, before Mercury starts to conjoin the Sun and Venus. Um, and so this is portending or, prophesying like what's coming in August when Jupiter will square Saturn. And there's a lot of exciting energy right now. There's a lot of new growth. There's a lot of new technologies. There's ways of being a lot more, uh, impactful and, integrating new ideas and concepts, new technologies into our businesses, into how we're connecting and communicating with each other. And one of the things we want to do while Mercury's in Gemini is we want to learn very quickly enough so that we can move forward with something, right? So if we can implement something, right? We don't have to be the master, right? The Mercury in Gemini is not the master necessarily, but it can be a jack of all trades enough to then, synthesize that information for a greater purpose, for what we're trying to achieve, right? So it might be, I think of Mercury and Gemini in terms of business. It's like creating a sales funnel where you are taking people on a journey into a free gift, something that can really bring value to them. You bring them into your list, into your world, and you start to nurture them, through an email sequence, through nurture sequence, and you start to offer them insights and information that can support them on their path of growth. And then you invite them into deeper work. And this is what's really important, because with Saturn, we don't want to work with clients once. We want to have serious clients that are more committed and that we can be more committed to. And that's why this cycle brings up the theme of something I work with a lot of clients on, which is creating a signature program, which is also, encompasses premium packages where we are working more on a high ticket level. We're not doing, $100 or $200, $300 sessions as much as we are creating, you know, 1K, 2K, 5K, 10K, and above packages that really create a bigger ultimate result for our clients. It's a game changer for our businesses if we have been trading our time for dollars. And it's a structure, right, where we're building a pyramid of growth and success that, you know, it will take time to grow to our ultimate goals. But when one client could become a high-end VIP client, right? This would be like I would say this is a Saturn client and a Pluto client. And again, we have this great Jupiter Pluto trine this month. And so the Pluto client wants deeper transformation. They're willing to invest in that. The Saturn client is committed, right? The Jupiter client is inspired. We're playing that Jupiter role as a coach or a mentor or a guide. And so we're looking at the idea that we need to create a program, a step-by-step process, a system that we can bring people through, and we can create an ultimate result from them by synthesizing Gemini, our gifts, all of the tools in our, tool belt that we've been building up, and being able to share the value of using these tools with our prospective clients. Only if it resonates, right? And this is very important in the Aquarian age. We don't have to come from a scarcity mindset, because there's plenty of people out there who want what we're doing, but we have to learn to speak to them. And we have to learn the modalities of how to actually find them. And that gets into marketing, and marketing with your astrology and your human design. If you should be using Facebook and Instagram or advertising, or you should create certain kinds of sales funnels, or you should be on webinars and doing free events. All of that, our charts actually show us the best strategies for that. And it's really different for, different people. So again, if this is something that you're kind of in the process right now, or you'd like to go to the next level of that, that's what I help clients with, using their astrology and design to create these premium packages, these higher end signature programs that you can keep iterating upon and growing into and sharing with the world, and doing that in a way that feels really sustainable and exciting, because it's a very creative process. And so I just want to inspire you right now with these incredible cycles. This month, um, all this Gemini energy, we can learn so much in a short amount of time. It's going to be a little frenetic, it's going to be a little erratic, and we have to be careful to not multitask too much, get too scattered, be like the butterfly going all over the place. We need a little bit of that, but Saturn is saying, hey, let's constrain that a bit, and have a purpose with that, right? If I'm going to go, if I'm wanting to learn more about my business and growing that, I don't have to go to every event. I have to go to a few and really develop some relationships there, or a couple key takeaways that I'm applying right away in my practice. So I have a course on this. It's called Create and Sell High Ticket Premium Packages. I'm going to put a link to that. It's on sale all this month, but I also can coach you through that process. And I hope that you're inspired in your relationships right now. I think this is a really important time uh, for you to deepen that bond. And so if you're interested in further support in that, looking at your charts to get clear on that language you can use in your relationships, I would love to talk to you about that. So, um, it's a really powerful new moon, lots of energy, for us to grow this month. It will slow down at the end of the month once, Mercury, the Sun, Venus go into Cancer. That's going to happen here. I'll bring it forward. You'll see it there. There's Mercury and Venus coming in June 17th, 18th, and then the Sun will come in right here on the summer solstice, June 21st. That's going to really slow things down, soften the energy, soothe the soul, smooth us over, and really bring, again, at the end of the month, we have a lot of, it's just a month where we can communicate a lot about love, relationships, values, money, and it moves from sort of that, excited and very, sort of mental Gemini space into a watery, emotional, sensitive, nurturing space of Cancer. So I'm really liking what's happening with all of that. Um, and it's going to be a powerful month. We have to watch the some of the disorientation and confusion and maybe over idealism that will come, let's say between here, June 15th, 16, 17, 18, 19, and that's when, you have Sun, Venus, Mercury are all going to square Neptune. But I think because we've been through the Saturn journey, the reality check, then we can take the imagination and the vision and the spiritual infusion of Neptune. And instead of becoming overly idealistic and then disappointed or disillusioned, we can actually create that, yet that sort of law of attraction of really calling in what we want, um, and allowing spirit to move through us and being kind of real about how that can be implemented and integrated into practical daily life. I hope that's helpful for you. It's been great to share about this new moon in Gemini with Venus and the Sun squaring Saturn. May it be the blessed, abundant month ahead for you. And I look forward to the next time. Namaste.